Hello friends, myself Archana Rathore and I'm going to teach you geography subject. In this field, I have an experience of around 15 to 16 years. Before starting discussion about the geography subject, let's discuss what is the significance of these subjects from the UPSC point of view, because we are here to prepare for the UPSC exam, right? So if you look at the UPSC exam point of view, if we analyze the question papers of 15 to 20 years, so you will find that in the prelims exam, out of 100 questions, around 10 to 15 questions are coming purely from the geography part, right? And if we include the questions of ecology and environment, see, ecology and environment is completely the applied part of geography. Until and unless you do not have a clear understanding of the concept of geography, until and unless you do not have a pure understanding of the climatology, you won't be able to understand the ecology and the environment part. So that if one person is taking geography as an optional, so one paper is ecology and environment. So if we include the questions of ecology and environment, somewhere around 15 to 20 questions are coming from the ecology and environment, right? In the prelims exam, it means somewhere around 30 to 35 questions out of 100 questions. Are you getting? 30 to 35 questions out of 100 questions comes from the geography. It means in the prelims exam, it is forming 1/3 part of your prelims. So until and unless you do not have a good confidence on this paper, you won't be able to crack prelims exam, right? So if we consider from the mains exam point of view, right? In the mains exam, let's see mains paper. In the mains paper 1, right? Geography forms around 50% part. And when it comes to the paper 3, in paper 3, indirectly it covers many segment of geography. If we look at the ecology and the environment part, as I told you earlier also, until and ecology and environment is completely the applied part of geography, right? So if you have a good understanding of geography, then only you'll able to understand the ecology and environment part. So in that, it is going to help you a lot, ecology and the environment part, right? Besides that, disaster management. So you know all the natural disaster, again it is related to disaster management. It is again the core part of geography. If you want to understand the heat wave, earthquake, floods, all these disasters directly, indirectly, it is related to the geography. So geography is going to help you a lot in this segment. Besides that, although the UPSC has mentioned certain topics purely in economy, but it is core part of geography. There it is mentioned the types of the crops, cropping pattern, irrigation, right? Resources. These all, I don't know why UPSC included it into the paper 3, but purely it is a part of geography, right? So if you have a good command on geography, so almost more than 50% part of the paper 3 also you will have a good command on the paper 3. Besides that, not only the paper 1 and paper 3, nowadays you know that the environment become a burning issue in the era of global warming, when daily we are facing so much challenges, so much disaster are occurring. So in the essay writing, in the essay paper also, geography, in that definitely you will get one topic which is related to the environment or the nature, right? So here also geography is going to help you a lot. So if we see somewhere around, if we talk about 250 marks is paper 1, 250 marks is paper 3, and somewhere around 250 marks is essay writing. So if we say total mains is of 1750 marks, 1750 marks, then somewhere around 400 to 500 marks part is covered by the geography directly or indirectly. It means in the mains also geography hold 1/3 part. So hope you understand what is the significance of geography from the prelims point of view, from the mains point of view. It forms one of the major segment of the GS paper, right? Not only this, when you will appear for the interview part, right? Interview, in that they may ask you some tricky questions, like they may ask you certain conditions may arise in your district. Suppose suddenly an earthquake occur, so what are the steps you are going to take to handle that situation? So, or if you want to go for the planning for the development of a particular area, so what are your strategies related to that? So in order to answer such tricky questions, you need some inputs from the geography part. So there also geography is going to help you to answer such tricky questions. So hope it is clear now what is the significance of geography subject, right? Now, not only from the GS point of view, there is a question like which optional we should go for. So if we talk about the geography optional subject, see, when the students are preparing for graduations, they must be having some different subjects, and when they think we are planning for UPSC, so which optional we should go for? So I would suggest never to go for any such optional. If somebody is suggesting you and you are taking that optional, I would suggest you go for self-analysis, because everyone's interest is different, everyone's education background is different, everyone way of thinking is different, and until and unless you do not have an interest in a particular subject, that subject will be very lengthy for you. You won't be able to cover that, right? So if you are selecting any optional subject, so 3-4 things you should keep in mind while selecting the optional subject. First first thing is, you just see in which subject you have interest. If you have interest, the long subject will become short for you. Because of your interest, you will be able to study that subject for a long period of time. And if you do not have any interest, then the small subject will become a burden for you. Let's say I say Pali is a very small subject, so why don't you go for the Pali as an optional subject? But since you do not have any interest in that subject, you won't be able to cover that. So don't opt for the optional on the basis of their size. Analyze it. Go for analysis. Whether it takes 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, go for self-analysis. And then decide which optional you should go for, because it is selection of optional is again a determining factor in your success. It forms around 500 marks paper, right? So interest is the most important thing. Besides the interest, then you see what is your educational background. I would suggest to go for optional that subject which you had in your graduations, because GS itself is very vast. So don't take any new burden until and unless if you find that your subject is too long, you can't go with it for the mains, don't change it, right? Obviously, see, if you are having science subject, so science subjects are very lengthy. So whosoever from science background, they change their subjects, right? From commerce background also, they change their subject. So if you are from arts background, stick to your subjects, whatever you had in the graduation, so that you don't end up with ending any new subject or any new burden, because you have to cover the GS part. Just remember one thing, UPSC exam, this is not a tough, it is not very hard, but it is very vast. And here you should know the skills, how to manage that vastness. If you look at the syllabus, it is clearly mentioned in the UPSC. They will ask you 10th or 12th level of each and every subject. They don't want specialist, they want generalist. They don't want doctors, they don't want engineers, they don't want geologists. right? So what do they want? They want a person who knows something about everything, right? So here only you need the guidance, like in every subject, till what depth you should go, so that you can get the maximum marks in the exam, right? So again, I am telling you, just remember, UPS exam is not tough, but it is very, very vast. And here you should know the skills, how to manage that vastness, right? And this is the reason I'm telling you, to manage the vastness, the decision to take the particular optional is very crucial. So I would suggest not, like the third factor what you should think while selecting for the optional is the how much it is going to help in GS. Suppose if you are taking geography as an optional subject, so if we see the nature of the geography paper, 30% it is theoretical, while 70% it is purely dynamic, right? I mean to say, this 70% part of the geography optional, if you are taking geography as an optional, then this 70% part of the geography is going to help you in the complete GS. Complete GS means what? Geography, economy, ecology and environment, disaster management. If you are not taking geography as an optional, then also you have to cover this 70% segment in one or the other paper, right? So this is the significance of geography subject, right? 30% is core, which is related to theory and all, which is not going to help you in GS. But 70% part of the GS geography optional is going to help you in GS. So if you are taking geography as an optional, so your burden is reducing. If you are covering optional, indirectly you are covering GS. Suppose, let's say, if I take science or biology or some other subject as an optional, so science, the physics or chemistry, maths is itself such a huge subject. What I am doing? I am increasing my own burden. GS itself is such a huge burden. At the same time, I'm taking an optional, which is again a big burden. So what we should go for? I have to reduce the burden. So how I can reduce the burden? By selecting such an optional, which is going to help me in GS, right? And fourth factor, what you should consider while discussing about the while deciding about the optional is availability of material, availability of guidance. There are availability of guidance as well as material, right? There are various subjects like science subjects, math subject, where material is not available. If you are going for science subject as an optional, so you will find difficulty in the getting the coaching as well as getting the material, while the humanities subjects is going to help you a lot. I'm not saying geography is the best subject, you should go for geography. I have just presented one example. At the same time, I have told you what is the significance of geography optional. All subjects are dynamic. Suppose if I take history, history subject is not going to help, history subjects will going to help you only in the history part, right? If you are taking public administration as an optional, public administration as optional, it will going to help you in the polity segment. It is going to help you in the ethics part, right? It is going to help you in the essay writing part. So PubAd is also a dynamic subject. So if I say public administration, so public administration is again 45% core theoretical, while 55% dynamic. If I talk about economics, if you're taking eco as an optional, so it is in case of economy, it is 60 to 65% theoretical, while 30 to 40% it is dynamic, right? So I'm just trying to present the picture ki how a particular subject is going to help you in the GS part, right? If I talk about physics, chemistry, they had hardly any role in the GS part. So again, I am telling you, never go for the optional on the basis of others' suggestion, because everyone interest is different, everyone academic background is different, everyone way of thinking is different, right? So go for optional. Again, it is a very crucial factor. Here I told you the significance of the geography as an optional. It is very dynamic subject. Yes, you might have heard geography is very lengthy. I know geography is lengthy, but I told you, if you are not covering these segments in the geography optional, so indirectly 70% part you are going to cover in the different papers of the GS. So hope you might have understood what is the significance of the geography subject, what is the significance of the geography optional subject, right? Now the question is, let's discuss about the geography. See, geography is the most dynamic subject. The subject geography, it is a most dynamic subject. It is the most interdisciplinary subject. In fact, it encompasses all the subject. How? If you want to understand the history of a particular area, first you have to understand the geography of that area. For instance, why the Indus Valley civilization developed in this area? Because Indus River was there. So you have to understand the geographical aspect of that area. Then only you will able to have a good understanding of the historical aspect of that area. Why the Britishers came to India? They came in search of spices. So it was there in our soil. This is the reason. Spices grown only in the India or the Indonesian islands. This is the reason these Britishers or Europeans, they first came to the South Asian countries. And when they came here, what do they found? They found a huge reserves of the minerals. They found huge reserves of the iron and coal. That was the era when the industrialization was started in the European countries. And what do they need? They required the iron, they required the coal. This is the reason. This is the reason they captured the whole Indian territory. So for understanding the historical aspect, first you have to understand the geographical aspect. If you want to understand the economy of a particular area, first you have to understand the geography of that area. Again, let's go to the plain regions of the India, Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, Bengal. Even today, agriculture is the main source of income. So why agriculture is the main source of income even today in this region? Because this is the most fertile part of India. Here the agriculture production is high. This is the reason. In fact, if we go to the historical aspect, most of the wars, they are fought in this region. Why in this region? Because maximum revenue was from this region. Right? Now come to the Rajasthan. What is the main source of income in Rajasthan? So if we try to, here one more point. If we talk about the UP, we say UP or Bihar, even today they are the main agrarian economy. So why? Why the mineral industry is not developed in this region? So you have to understand the economy of the UP and the Bihar. So for that, what you have to do? You have to go into the rocks of the UP and Bihar. You have to understand the structure of UP and Bihar. You have to understand the rocks, what type of rocks are there, and why the minerals are not present, why the metallic minerals are not present in this region, why the iron and steel industries, why the automobile industries are not developed in the UP and Bihar. So reason is UP, Bihar, Bengal, including Punjab, Haryana and Delhi. This is a plain area which is formed after the formation of Himalayas. Here, these rocks are formed by deposition of the sediments. This is the reason no metallic minerals are in this region. And this is the reason no metal-based industries are here in this region. So now you understood? To understand the economy of UP and Bihar, first you have to understand the geography of that area, geographical aspect of that area. So where do we found the metallic minerals? We found the metallic minerals in that area which are made up of igneous rock, which are made up of Archean age rock, that is the peninsular plateau region. So if you want to understand the economy of the Rajasthan, obviously, so less rainfall is in Rajasthan. So agriculture is not the main source of income of Rajasthan. So question is, what is the main source of income in Rajasthan? So what does it has? It have Aravallis. Aravallis, which is one of the oldest fold mountain of the earth. Right? So it is rich in minerals. It is the rocks of the Rajasthan are made up of Archean rocks, which is rich in minerals. It is rich in non-ferrous minerals like copper, zinc, silver. Right? This is found in Rajasthan. It is rich in marble, granite. So why all these minerals are found in this region? Because of the Aravallis. So Aravalli is the main, so mining is the main source of income in Rajasthan. Let's move to the Gujarat and Maharashtra. If we see, what is the main source of economy of the Gujarat and Maharashtra? So this whole area is covered with the black lava, and the black lava is most suitable for, black lava, because of the black lava, the whole area is covered with the black soil. So black soil is more suitable for cotton. Now you tell me, in which part of India maximum cotton textile industries are flourished? It is Gujarat and Maharashtra. So why Gujarat and Maharashtra? Because of the production of the cotton in this area. Let's move to the Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Bengal. This whole area is Chota Nagpur Plateau. This whole area, Chota Nagpur Plateau, and Chota Nagpur Plateau is one of the oldest part of the Indian peninsula. So it is rich in minerals. It is rich in almost every mineral, every metal is found in this region. Particularly, it is rich in iron and coal. So this combination, this golden combination, wherever iron and coal is found together at world level, those areas become the developed centers. Now you are understanding what is the significance of geography. I am telling you what is the importance of this subject. So if you want to understand the economy of that area, first you have to understand the geography of that area. Not only India level, at the world level. Why the American country, why the European countries are well flourished? If you see the Great Lake regions of the North America, the region surrounding it, this area is again rich in iron and coal. I told you, at the world level, wherever iron and coal, this golden combination found, they become the industrial leaders of that region. Why the German cars are so popular? Because in Germany, along the river Rhine, there's a best quality iron and best quality coal is found. I know you are observing the war between the Ukraine and the Russia past few years. Although many reasons are responsible for this, but one major reason is again geographical reason. Ukraine has one of the largest reserve of iron and coal, and Russia want to capture those regions to flourish its own industries. This is the reason. This is one of the Donbas mines, Kryvyi mines of the Ukraine. So this is one of the major reason why the Russia try to capture the Ukraine. So in fact, even if you want to understand the global politics also, so you must have the basic understanding of the geography first. Most of the wars, they were fought on the resources only. Gulf War, why? Mainly for the resources. If you want to understand the international relations, you have to understand the geographical aspect. Although European countries try to pressurize Russia not to attack the Ukraine, but they couldn't pressurize it hard. Reason is what? Because the whole European country depends on the natural gas of Russia. This is the reason. So hope you are understanding what is the significance of the geography subject, right? Not only this, if you want to understand the culture of a particular area, first you have to understand the geographical aspect of that area. If you want to understand what are the major festivals in India, so on what basis all these major festivals are being conducted, right? The major region is geographical aspect. Yes, every year we are celebrating Holi, every year we are celebrating Diwali, but do you know why we are celebrating these festivals, and that too on a particular period? Is it completely religious? No. It is completely based on the geographical aspect of this region. India is an agrarian economy, agriculture-based economy. In India, rainfall comes in the month of June. And the farmers, they work hard for 3-4 months in the field. And they harvest it in the month of the October, November. See, when the celebration is possible, when the money is income is there. So you think in the service sector, income is coming every month. So you just think about the farmers. When do they get income? When they will sell their crops. So when are they going to sell their crops? In the month of the October, November. This is the reason Diwali is the major festival of India. It is completely related to crop harvesting. You know, in India, we have mainly two major crops, Kharif crop and the Rabi crop. So when the Kharif crop is being harvested, we celebrate Diwali. And when we harvest the Rabi crop, you know, it is grown in the month of the October, November, it is harvested in the month of the March. And this is the reason we are celebrating Holi, Lohri, Pongal, so many festivals we are celebrating during this period. So it is totally related to the geographical aspect of that area. So hope you understand what is the significance of this subject, right? So I told you it encompasses all the subject. It forms the base of all the subject. So this is the significance of geography. This subject is not only going to help you in the exam. It will help you in understanding what is happening around you. When you will wake up, when you will sleep, it has been decided by the nature, right? What is time? What is the concept of time? How you are going to determine the location of a particular area, when the rainfall will occur, when the snowfall will occur, all thing what is happening around you. This is that subject which is related to your day-to-day life. And I'm sure you are definitely going to enjoy this subject. You are going to love this subject because it is related to your daily life, day-to-day life. Not only in the exam point of view, after the exam, when you will be into the service, when you will become the administrator, when you will become a collector of a particular district, then also this subject is going to help you a lot. If you are planning for the development of a particular region, so how you are going to plan for that area? So what is required? You should know what type of soil in your district, which crops can be grown in that district, or which are the minerals present in that district, so that you can plan which industry you can bring into the area for the development of that. So you need the knowledge of the geography subject. So if you want to provide, so what is the main purpose of the government? The main purpose of government is what? To provide basic infrastructural facilities to the people and the development of the area. So basic infrastructural facilities comes what? You need 24-hour water supply. So 24-hour water supply means the river surrounding areas where the dam construction can be possible. How you can make the arrangement of the water? 24-hour electricity supply. So whether do you have any coal reserves, from where we are going to arrange for the electricity arrangements, right? For the construction of any infrastructure, how is the relief of that area? Accordingly, you are going to plan, right? So just remember one thing. Now, this subject is not only going to help you in the exam, it will help you in understanding the surrounding, whatever is happening around you. It is also going to help you when once you will get into the job, then also it is going to help you. So hope you understood what is the significance of these subjects. So now let's take a brief view what we are going to study in this segment, right? So if you look at the geography is basically what? It is a scientific study of Earth and its spheres. If you look at our Earth, it is a scientific study of Earth and its spheres. So what is basically spheres? If we look at the Earth, Earth, either it has solid state or liquid state or gaseous state, right? So that part of Earth which is solid in state, we call it lithosphere, solid part where continents are there, right? So this part is lithosphere. That part of Earth which is liquid in state, it is hydrosphere. That part of Earth which is gaseous in state, this is atmosphere, right? So these are what? Spheres of the Earth. So if we look at the Earth, how many spheres Earth has? Earth has totally 4 spheres. Earth has 4 spheres, right? So if we look, first is lithosphere. Lithosphere is what? That part of Earth which is solid in state. So solid in state. So when you study about the solid part of Earth, solid part comes what? The rocks part of the Earth, the continents part of the Earth. So how the mountains are forming, how the earthquake occur, how the volcanic eruption takes place, what are the major forces responsible for earthquake and volcano. All this we are going to discuss in this here. The different types of landforms which are present on the Earth's surface, what are the forces that are acting on the Earth's surface, responsible for the formation of these landforms. All this we are going to discuss in this lithosphere. So when we study about lithosphere, we call it geomorphology. So what is geomorphology? Geomorphology, it is basically the study of different type of landforms which are present on the Earth surface, right? So mountains, plains, plateaus, on that there are features like waterfalls, right? Valley, gorge, canyon, delta, all these are what? Landforms. So what are the forces that are responsible for the formation of these landforms? What are the forces responsible for the destruction of these landforms? All this we will discuss here. We heard that these continents, they are moving. So what is tectonic plate? How do the continent moves? What are the forces responsible for the movement of tectonic plates? All this we are going to discuss here. See, in order to understand what is happening on the Earth's surface, first we have to go inside the Earth. So we will discuss here what is the internal structure of Earth. What is the internal structure of Earth? Because this will help us to understand why the earthquake occur, why the volcanic eruption takes place, what is tectonic plate. All this we are going to discuss in the geomorphology part. Here then we will discuss what is how the continents and the ocean, origin of continents and oceans, right? So how the continents and oceans have originated. So here we will discuss some theories related which tries to explain how the continents and ocean have originated. So here we will discuss about the continental drift theory, convection current theory, seafloor spreading theory, and plate tectonic theory. So all this we are going to discuss here in this segment. Then we will discuss what are the forces that are acting on the Earth's surface. So forces acting on Earth's surface, right? So here we will discuss basically two forces which are acting on Earth's surface: endogenetic forces, exogenetic forces. Endogenetic forces, what they try to do, they try to uneven the Earth surface, right? They try to uneven the Earth's surface, while the exogenetic forces try to level up the surface. For example, volcano, it forms some structure on the Earth's surface. So endogenetic force tries to uneven the surface. So what the air, wind, solar radiation, they will try to break the rocks, they will try to level up the surface. So these are what exogenetic forces. So river, glaciers, right? Sea waves, these are what exogenetic forces. Earthquake, volcano, these are what endogenetic forces. Various type of tectonic forces, these all are what endogenetic forces. All this we are going to discuss in this segment. So this is what we call geomorphology. Then here we will discuss the types of the landforms which are present on the Earth's surface. So various order landforms, continents, oceans, what is mountain, what is plain, what is plateau, all this we are going to discuss here. And the various landforms formed by the river, glacial landforms, the coastal landforms, all this we are going to discuss here in geomorphology. So this is what lithosphere, we are discussing. Earth has 4 spheres. So 4 sphere, first is lithosphere. When we study about lithosphere, this is geomorphology, and these are the core areas what we are going to cover in the geomorphology part, right? So here I am just discussing the syllabus in short, right? Detailed syllabus we will discuss later. Then the second part, that part of Earth which is liquid in state, that is hydrosphere. Hydrosphere means that part which is liquid in state is what? Oceans. Wherever oceans are present, this is hydrosphere, right? And when we study about ocean, we call it oceanography. So in oceanography, what we are going to discuss, we will discuss the major oceans: the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic and Antarctic oceans. How is the bottom relief of these oceans? What are the special characteristics of these oceans? So we will discuss the internal structure of oceans. Then we will discuss the ocean currents. Again, one of the important topic in the oceans. What are the major resources of the oceans? Corals, again an important topic what we are going to discuss in the oceanography, right? Then the salinity of the ocean, the temperature variations in the oceans, all this we are going to discuss in the oceanography, right? Then comes the third sphere, atmosphere. It is that part of Earth which is gaseous in state. We are discussing the spheres of Earth. Earth has 4 spheres. So in the atmosphere, it is that part of Earth which is gaseous in state. And we discuss, when we study about atmosphere, we call it climatology. Climatology. So in climatology, what we are going to discuss, we will discuss about what is air, what is wind, what is the difference between air and wind, what is atmospheric pressure, how atmospheric pressure develops, variation in the atmospheric pressure takes place. Then what is wind? Just remember one thing, climatology is the core part. It is the most conceptual part. Whosoever is having a good command on the climatology, he'll be having a good command on the whole geography, right? So what is wind, what are the different types of winds, all this we are going to discuss. When you are looking at the continents, at some part dense forests are there, while at some part deserts are there. So where the dense forest will form, where the grassland will form, where the deserts will form, it is not random distribution. There is a pattern which is formed on the continents. So how these patterns are formed? It is formed by the winds. So we will discuss all this in the climatology, how winds are responsible for the formation of forests, deserts, grasslands. We are going to discuss it here, right? Then the fronts, what are fronts, air masses, what are cyclones, anticyclones, all this we are going to discuss here. Then we will discuss the climate. What is the difference between weather and climate? What are the different types of the climates of the world region? All this we are going to discuss here, right? What is the difference between the rainfall and the snowfall? When the rainfall will occur, when the snowfall will occur. Nowadays you are observing severe thunderstorms are coming. So what is thunderstorm? What are the factors responsible for that? All this we are going to discuss in this segment, right? So this is all about the climatology. And the fourth sphere. So which one is the fourth sphere of the Earth? See, Earth has 4 spheres. So Earth is the only planet on which life is there. So life is there. So that sphere we call it biosphere. Biosphere, right? So biosphere is what? That part of Earth where life exists. And when we study about the biosphere, we call it ecology. This is ecology and environment. What is been separated now as it is presented as a separate paper in the UPSC. So what do we study in this? How nature affects the environment, and how nature is affecting the life, and how life is affecting the nature. Right? So this is what we are going to discuss here in the biosphere. So again, biosphere is that part of Earth where life exists. So life exists on the land, life exists in the water, life exists in the atmosphere, right? So that part of Earth where life exists. If I say this is the Earth sphere, so obviously the maximum life is on the Earth's surface only. But if we go in the air up till 10-kilometer height, life is there. In the air, you can find the birds, you can find the virus, bacteria, coronavirus, etc. Till what height? Up till 10-kilometer height. Beyond that, life does not exist. Similarly, if we go inside the Earth, so till what depth we can find the life? Maximum somewhere around 10-kilometer depth. In the soil also life is there. So this whole part is biosphere, that part of Earth where life exists. Right? This is biosphere. So in this segment, we will discuss how nature affects the life and how life is affecting the nature. What will be the vegetation in a particular area? That depends on the geography of that area. What will be the fauna of a particular area? Animals of a particular area? That depends on the geographical aspect of that area. What will be the demography of that area? Population distribution? That also depends on the geographical aspect of that area. Right? So all this. So if you are studying about air, if you are discussing about wind, if you are discussing about land, this is all geography. So hope you have a better you got the better idea what we are going to study in geography. This is the what we call physical geography, right? So when we are going to see, geography is more a science paper rather than arts. It is completely a logical paper. Like in science, we in the first we discuss about the basic principles, and then we apply it in the different contexts. Similarly, this is physical geography. It is completely scientific in nature. It has certain principles, and once we will here we will understand how the mountains are formed. Here we will understand how the rainfall will occur. Now here we will understand how the river forms the different landforms. Now what we will do, we will apply it in context of India. Then that is what? Indian geography. So in Indian geography, what we are going to discuss? In Indian geography, we will discuss about the physical division of India. In the physical division of India, what are the mountains, plains, plateaus of India? Most important topic, physical division of India. So in the physical geography, we studied how the mountains are formed. Here we will discuss this in context of India, which are the mountains, plains, plateaus which are present in India, how do they form, right? Then we will discuss the drainage system of India, which are the major rivers in India, right? That we will discuss here. What the landforms, river form, that we will discuss in physical geography. Here we will discuss everything in context of India. Then we will discuss about the major the climate of India. Again, most important topic, monsoon. Now you understood, until and unless you do not have a good idea, until and unless you do not have a good idea of climatology, you cannot understand the monsoon of India. So this is the reason. First we will discuss the physical geography, then we will come to the Indian geography. So after the climate of India, we will discuss the soil of India. Then we will discuss about the vegetation of India, right? So this is the order we are going to follow. So this is all about the Indian geography part. Here I am discussing the syllabus in short. In detail we will discuss it later, right? And once we are finished with this, then we will come to the economic geography. Again, economic geography, 4 areas are the core areas of economic geography. Here we will discuss about the 4 important topics. Agriculture, right? Very most important topic, resources. Economic geography we will discuss at both level, India and the world level. It is at India and the world level. This is the reason I told you it forms the one of the major segment of the economy as well. The various distribution of resources at the world level, at India level, then the industries which are present at India and the world level, and the trade and transportation, right? These are the 4 major topics we are going to discuss in this, right? So this forms the economic geography. So this is how we are going to cover the geography subject. Hope you must be having idea what we discussed today. What is the significance of the geography from the exam point of view? Then we discuss what is the significance of geography, its interdisciplinary approach. Then we discuss what is the significance of the geography optional. I also told you this subject is not only going to help you in the exam, but even once you will be into the job, then also it is going to help you a lot. It will help you to understand whatever is happening surrounding you. Besides that, then we discuss a brief syllabus of the geography. So hope you have a good understanding of the geography subject. Chaliye, thank you so much.